Alrighty, well, let's get going here. We're going to start off standing up really, really nice and tall. So go ahead, find a spot where you have plenty of room to move your arms around. And we're going to stand up nice and tall, like somebody has one of your hairs and they're pulling you straight up. Your shoulders are dropped and your core is engaged. So by engaged, I mean your belly button's in tight. You're drawing in through the sides of your waist and you're lifting up through the pelvic floor, engaging your muscle that is providing stability to your spine and your organs. It's called your transverse abdominis, and it's like a meat corset drawing you in. So feel that really deep, tight engagement. And we're going to go ahead, take a few deep breaths to just get started here, breathing in and out, in and out. And then we're going to bring our arms up here. So we're going to hang out here for about 60 seconds and do some little circles. I don't know how well everybody can see it, but my palms are actually up here. And I'm just doing little circles, checking in with my shoulders, making sure that they're staying even and I'm not slumping off to one side or the other side. I'm not tipping forward over time. My hands are staying up nice and high. My shoulders are staying down low as I continue to do these circles. The rest of my body position actually matters also. I want my ears to stay stacked over my shoulders over my hips, and my hips over the base of my feet. So it's not going to be your heels exactly, but just over the middle of your foot. And of course, continuing that lovely deep breath that we were doing earlier as we continue to feel a little bit of burning in our shoulders. You could bring your arms down for a little mini rest and a little shakeout here. And of course, as we do everything, be really respectful of your body. If anything starts to feel tense or uncomfortable, just take a mini rest, back to it, or find a version that's more appropriate for yourself. So the next thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing some lateral raises. Palms are going to be up again. And the reason why I do that is because it encourages external rotation through your shoulders. And when we sit at a desk all day and we're doing our little T-Rex typing thing, a lot of times that results in internal rotation through the shoulders. So we're counterbalancing that by doing some raises, going all the way up to the Y from the YMCA and down here. If you want to make this a little bit easier for yourself, you'll actually do a deeper range of motion. Gravity is pulling less on my hands and therefore targeting my shoulders less when I'm here and when I'm here than when I'm going back and forth. If you want to make this more challenging for yourself, stay closer to horizontal. So just go up a little bit and down a little bit here. Another 30 seconds here. And again, if your shoulders are starting to burn, that means that they are working and getting stronger, and we love that. Say something nice to your shoulders like, oh my goodness, thank you so much for working for me and taking care of me all day today. Continuing to breathe and continuing to respect your body. So if it starts to feel like too much, taking a little mini rest and coming back to it. Beautiful. Bring your arms down by your side. Take another little shake out. And then we're going to do one more exercise for our shoulders, getting everything really nice and warm and juicy here so that we can do a glorious stretch. And that's going to be some pulses. So I'm just going to pulse my thumbs back towards the wall behind me here. Pulsing back, opening up my chest, and then coming back to neutral. So my hands are in line with my shoulders and then pulsing back again. Just going at your own pace here. Lovely. 5 more little pulses, and then we're going to change angles. So now I'm doing the Y from the YMCA. Again, palms are coming up, and I'm pulsing my thumbs back, opening up the front of my body, but at a new angle. And I'm actually engaging all the way from my shoulder blades so that they are sliding down my back and sliding in together as I pulse my thumbs back. You may not be able to feel them move that much, but just think about having the contraction start from there, continue up through your shoulder, and continue up all the way so that your thumb is moving back. Nicely done. Continue that breathing. Make sure you're not holding your breath as you concentrate to make this happen. And bring your arms down. Take a little roll out, a little shake out. Nice. So we're going to do a little juicy stretch here. Bring my right arm across the body, using my left arm to pull myself into the stretch even more, just to the point that it feels good though. So we don't want to be stretching to the point that it feels tingly or nervy or drastically uncomfortable. We just want to be taking this to the point that it feels like a big old juicy morning stretch. So another thing that I can do here is I can actually find some different angles that feel really great to me. Everybody's put together a little bit differently, so adding a little bit of variety into our stretch is really nice. Bringing your shoulder up a bit, down a bit, bringing your hand up and down, playing with the angle of your neck and your head to find the aspects of this stretch that really work well for you. And as I said, everybody is slightly different. You know, we have different length bones and slightly different attachment points for our muscles. And so maybe it's going to feel really great for you when your shoulder's low and your hand is high, or vice versa. Maybe that feels really great for you. So find what works for you. And we'll go ahead and switch sides. If there was some position that you hung out in for a really long time on the other side, trying to keep it balanced and even. Thank you for joining us, to all the new faces that are popping up here. It makes me so happy that you're able to find time in your day to come join us. Right now, we're doing this stretch where my left arm is coming across my body. My right arm is helping me into the stretch, not forcing anything, not tearing anything, but just assisting me into the stretch here. And then I'm finding some angles to play with. So maybe bringing my hand up a little bit higher, down a little bit lower, playing with my shoulder, bringing that up, down. I can also bring my shoulder further across my body or back towards the wall behind me a little bit more, or play with dropping my shoulder and leaning my head away or towards the shoulder that we're stretching. Beautiful job here, everybody. And releasing that, we just hung out in this one position for a while. So taking a little wiggle here to stretch things out, come back to what feels like normal. So we just stretched through the back of our shoulder by bringing our arm across. We're going to do the opposite now and bring our hands behind us, clasping. I interlace my hands, but if you aren't able to do that, just bringing your hands as close together as you can and bringing your hands down. So I'm really opening up through my chest. And here again, we can find some different little unique angles to help us get an even more enjoyable stretch and even like mini stretches within a stretch. So from here, I can play around by actually leaning my head to one side or the other while keeping my shoulders still. And right now I'm actually leaning my right ear to my right shoulder, and I'm making sure to keep my left shoulder down so I really have room to stretch there. Of course, just playing with all of these angles at your own pace and finding the ones that work best for you. I can also actually try to open my chest even more, reach my chin up towards the ceiling. So I'm not flopping my head back and crunching through my neck. I'm finding length through my neck and reaching up with my chin. Hope is actually demonstrating another one with dropping her chin towards her chest. That's another really glorious stretch. So go ahead and just play with it and find what feels beautiful for you and what refreshes you right now. Another thing that we can do is we can play with moving the hands away from the body, bending the elbows while keeping the elbows close together. And of course, you don't have to stay in this position the whole time. If you need to take a little mini break, give yourself a moment to unclasp and unfurl and then come back to it. That is wonderful too. Always be respectful of your body. All right, so we are done with that aspect. We're actually going to either come down onto the floor or Hope is going to demonstrate a desk version here. So let me bring you guys down. And we're going to come into this quadruped position. So I'm on hands and knees here. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to bring my left leg out and start pulsing the heel up towards the ceiling. If you want to make this a little bit easier, you could tap on the floor and then come up. Or if you want to make it a little bit harder, you could just keep your foot up and keep pulsing towards the ceiling. Again, we're taking some time to really warm up that muscle before we stretch it. This will make the stretch feel better, and you'll actually be able to get a little bit deeper into the stretch. It also protects the muscle. So when your muscle is tight and weak, you're more prone to injury. If you take some time to strengthen, it helps prevent injury. We're just hanging out here. If at any point this feels like too much for you, that mini rest is always an option. So while we're hanging out here, I'm going to talk a little bit about my positioning through the rest of my body. You could see that my heel is coming up towards the ceiling, but what might be harder to see is that my hips are even, like parallel with the floor underneath me. I'm not rising or dropping the hip, just keeping them even. My core is also still engaged, so I'm lifting up through the pelvic floor. I'm drawing in through the navel and sides of the waist, really engaging and protecting my spine. And then my shoulders are stacked pretty directly over my hands. And actually my elbows are pointed back towards my knees, and the fleshy part of the elbow, the crease of the elbow, is pointing straight forward. And of course, I'm aiming to have my ears somewhat in line with the rest of my body, so my head is not way up high and it's not dropped way down low. Go ahead, bring your foot down, and we'll do the other leg. Just little pulses here, hanging out, getting nice and warm. One of the cool things about working your glutes is they actually promote the opening of the front of the hip. So when I am pulsing my glute and bringing my heel up, the front of the hip is actually automatically told to open up. So if you have really tight hip flexors, the muscles that control your leg coming up, there's some of them are sort of in the crease, but some of them are sort of all over the place. They have attachment points that go all the way back to your sacrum. That can really help open up by using this. It's called reciprocal inhibition. We're going to hang out here just another minute, and then we'll switch to another glute-centric exercise. Take a moment to thank your body for working hard for you and taking care of you. Acknowledging this body part as well. And you could bring that knee down. The next thing we're going to do is a fire hydrant. So I'm bringing my left knee out to the side here, so from another angle so you can see it a little bit better. But my left knee is coming out to the side. And as I do this, I am aiming for the knee to come out to the side, but I don't need a 90-degree angle. Why I don't need a 90-degree angle is because I want the hips to stay square to the floor underneath me still and be using my core engagement to maintain that. So I'm just going out as far as I can to the side without raising or dropping the hip. And again, if you want to make this harder, little pulses to the side. If you want to make it a little bit easier, coming all the way down, all the way up. Now, Hope is demonstrating the standing version because some of you may be at work or in a dress or someplace that you don't want to get all the way down on the floor. Take whichever option works for you. Nicely done. Hopefully you can feel the change in the angle on your glutes. So when we were bringing our heel up towards the ceiling, that was working one aspect of your booty. And now we're working completely different muscle. All right, bring that knee or foot down to the ground and we'll do the other side. Continuing at your own pace, continuing with great core engagement and breathing, never forgetting to breathe. And of course, checking in with the rest of your body position, checking in with the creases of your elbows, making sure that your shoulders are staying stacked over your hands. Of course, if you have grumpy wrists and they don't like to be pressed onto a desk or floor, you can always come up to knuckles or rest on your forearms. That's a nice little trick to help make it more comfortable for you. And also, if you have anything going on with your body that's causing you real pain, don't forget to see a physical therapist or your doctor. Getting to the root of the problem is, of course, the best way to feel better. Nice, just 3 more here. Lovely, all right. So we're gonna sit on down. Hope's gonna sit in a chair. I'm going to sit on the floor. And I am sitting with my knees stacked on top of each other. You could also sit in a cross-legged position, or Hope will do a figure 4 position where her right knee is going to be bent. Her right foot is coming on top of her left knee. Hope, can you just trace the line of your leg with your hand so we can see? Yeah, perfect. She has a nice 90-degree angle through her knee there, and she also has her foot flexed because that actually causes some muscle engagement that helps to protect the knee. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do a nice stretch here, moving in and out of the stretch. This is just giving your body a little courtesy call. Hey, we're going to play with these muscles now. Also lets you know that you are able to get in and out of the position easily and comfortably before we try to get into any deeper stretching. As we lean forward, we're not bending through our lower back, we're hinging at our hips to really target the muscles through the glutes here. A lot of times we sit on these muscles all day if we have a desk job or we stand, and we don't give them that much love, right? They don't get a huge range of motion. They don't get a lot of work. They just sort of get forgotten and sat on all the time. It's no way to treat your glutes. So let's go ahead and move side to side now. You can lean forward a little bit as you do this so you're able to feel a stretch through the different angles. You can hold onto your knees or your chair or even a desk nearby for support. All right, and now let's go ahead. We're going to draw a giant circle with our shoulders over our hips. Only going as deeply as feels good to you. And just sort of taking stock with your body. This can be a really wonderful time to practice mindfulness. Just get in touch with yourself. We ask everybody that we see all day long, how are you? We don't often ask ourselves the same question. So treating ourselves as well as we treat everybody else in the entire world. And let's go ahead and reverse direction. Beautiful. Now, the next thing we're going to do is fold over our knees a little bit here. If you want to unfurl first, give yourself a little break, and then come to that deep stretch. That is totally reasonable, totally acceptable. Go ahead and give yourself that little gift. And then come forward, and we're just leaning over our stacked knees, our crossed legs, or our figure four position. You don't have to go particularly far to get benefit from this stretch. You just need to go until it feels like a nice big juicy stretch. When I say a nice big juicy stretch, I mean that feeling that you get when you do like a big old morning stretch, some sort of beautiful, good feeling stretch. Now, different parts of the body feel a little bit different when they're getting stretched, but the more you do it, the more you'll be able to identify that good stretch feeling if it doesn't come naturally for you. Now, I'm maintaining a little bit of a wiggle because my body is feeling particularly tight today and slightly grumpy, but that's okay. It's human too. And paying attention to the breathing. Sometimes when you get into a deeper stretch, your body starts to have a little bit of a trigger reaction, and you sort of focus more on the stretch and you stop breathing. But that's not actually very productive to being able to stretch well. We want our body to be breathing nice and deep and calm and relaxing into the stretch. Go ahead and get up. You can use your hands to help yourself out if you would enjoy that. And we're going to unfurl the legs and switch sides here. So now my right knee is on the bottom and my left knee is stacked on top. And I tell you that because sometimes people forget which one was on top, which is totally, totally wonderful. It means that you are really immersing yourself in the activity. So we're just going to come forward and back again. Really just enjoying this movement, playing with the stretch. We're going to go a little bit side to side here. As you do this, making sure that both hip bones are grounded into the ground. We still have our core engagement. We're still having a nice long, tall spine as we wiggle and move and sit and change positions. I always love to see exercise as a form of self-care, not a chore list. So making sure that you're doing exercises that feel really good and serve you. And now taking a moment to draw those big circles over your hips with your shoulders. So coming all the way forward, all the way to the left, back as far as is comfortable for you or as far as the chair will allow, and all the way around the clock again. Feel free to use your hands for support, but not to sort of wrench yourself deeper into a position. Lovely. And now you have a moment. You can unfurl your legs if you would like. Untwisting and then coming back to the position so that we can lean over our knees again. Long, tall spine, hinging out at your hips. When I do this, I'm not trying to bring my nose to my knee. Sometimes people will have that inclination that moving your head farther is better. But in fact, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to bring my navel closer to the knee. So really playing with the tilt of the pelvis here. And if that doesn't make sense to anybody, feel free to send me an email or a message in the chat later, and I'd be happy to explain that. Leaning over our bent leg here. Of course, if you're in the figure four position, checking to make sure your foot is flexed and you're taking care of your knee. Taking care of your breath. Beautiful. Come on out of it. Going to come to a comfortable seat here, whatever that means to you. And we're just going to do a little bit of a twist here. So breathing in nice and tall, placing my hand to the right behind me, my left hand on my right knee or right side of my chair anywhere. And then on the exhale, twisting. And every inhale, I'm going to lengthen up a little bit taller. Every exhale, I'm going to twist a little bit more, drawing in my navel as I twist. And exhaling out and coming back to center. Let's go ahead and do the other side. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, twist. And go ahead and come back to center here. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to give your hip flexors a little bit of a gift here, and we're going to come into a lunge position. If anybody is unable to do a lunge position because of their knees, like you can't be on your knee, that's totally fine. Hope is going to demonstrate a standing lunge. Nice, thank you, Hope. And of course, if that position is also not accessible for you, you can also just take a moment to take a few deep breaths as we go through this. What I'm doing in this position is I'm going to stick my butt out all the way, and then I'm going to tuck my pelvis, almost like my hips are a wagon wheel and they're rolling backwards, so that I'm able to feel a stretch through my hip flexors in the front of my thigh here. Right up here. And then as you're more comfortable with the stretch, if after a few deep breaths, this feels like nothing for you, you can bring your hips forward more. But start with that tucked pelvis and maintain that tuck using your lower ab muscles as you come forward more and more. And if you ever notice your butt sticking out, that's a cue. Tuck your pelvis again. And lean into the stretch. These muscles get neglected as we sit. Lovely, we're gonna come back, switch sides. So now I have my left leg in front, right leg going back. I'm gonna stick my butt out all the way and I'm gonna go ahead and tuck my pelvis again. Almost like I could aim my tailbone, not just at the floor, but at the wall in front of me. And then sinking deeper into the stretch as I get comfortable. Beautiful. Coming right on out of it where you're ready. And we're going to do one last little stretch here to finish off. Oh, just kidding. It's 12:30. We're not at all going to do another stretch. I just want to be very respectful of everybody's lunchtime. If you do have a little extra time, go ahead and just lay flat and enjoy the support of the floor underneath you. It's completely different from standing up or sitting, just because the way the gravity is pulling on you, and it will feel delicious. And if you are able to, I would really appreciate it if you give feedback in the survey listed in the chat. Thank you so much for joining.